Alright, in this video I will be exploring the 4 levels of utter generational trauma inflicted on us when we were little children. In fact, this trauma comes to haunt us in the form of PTSD at level. But real quick, I just have opened a new YouTube channel where I am going to be making videos on competitive Pokemon. The greatest moments, the greatest players, and Pokemon who were deemed too overpowered in competitive VGC. So if you are interested in competitive Pokemon, then please go and subscribe to that channel as well as this one. But anyways, in this video, we're going to be going down memory lane all the way from Generation 2's Red and Whitney to the absolutely terrifying Cynthia and Volo. So strap in and let's begin. Trauma. What exactly is trauma? Trauma is the lasting emotional, psychological, or physical response to an event or series of events that are emotionally disturbing or life-threatening, such as abuse, violence, natural disasters, or the unexpected loss of a loved one. It overwhelms a person's capacity to cope, leading to feelings of fear, helplessness, and a disrupted sense of safety. While everyone experiences events differently, trauma can result in significant long-term effects on a person's physical, mental, and social well-being. The kind that stains your very soul. The kind that comes in the form of a pink cow with a terrifying blank stare. We are talking about Whitney, the normal-type gym leader, and the absolute behemoth beast Milk Tank, which she unleashes on unsuspecting children. I swear to God, every single one of us, every single one has a shared this goddamn core memory of this specific moment of pure failure against this filthy Milk Tank. This isn't a battle, man. This is a rite of passage, a final exam that came way too early in the semester, and I mean that. Whitney's Milk Tank is not just a hard boss, it's a meticulously designed difficulty spike, a masterclass in psychological warfare which still plagues many of us, created to break a generation of players who had become complacent and cocky. She was the one who made us cry and throw our DS across the room. She was the one who taught us fear. And today, we're going to break down every single reason. To understand the full scope of this collective trauma, you have to remember where you were. You were on a high road. You had just walked through the gates of Goldenrod City, feeling like a damn hero. You had just put Faulkner and Bugsy in their place and breezed through their gym, because to be real with you, they were jokes, absolute jokes. Faulkner had a Pidgeotto, a bird you probably had on your own team, and Bugsy, the bug-type gym leader, the literal definition of a bug. His ace was a Scyther. It was only level 16, and its strongest move was U-turn, which is a good move, but it wasn't a killer. And get this, a lot of players probably hadn't even leveled up that much between Bugsy's gym and Whitney's, because the path to Goldenrod City didn't have a lot of high-level trainers to fight. You were feeling good. You were feeling invincible. Your level 20 starter was going to one-shot anything that came in your way. You were using physical attacks and one-shotting everything you saw. And Whitney, she was a normal-type gym leader. Normal-type, what's the worst she could do, right? You were walking into that gym with the confidence of the future champion, completely oblivious to the biblical storm that was about to hit you. The psychological warfare starts immediately. She doesn't just throw Milk Tank at you. She starts with a Clefairy, and this isn't a boss Pokemon, it's a troll. A warm-up act that's designed to lull you into a false sense of security. Clefairy's not strong, but it's annoying. It has an cute charm, which can inflict infatuation on your male Pokemon before Milk Tank even comes out. And it has Metronome, which is the ultimate gamble. A move that can pull literally any other move in the game. You're sitting there laughing like, oh, this is cute, while her Clefairy is setting the stage for the absolute hell that is her main Pokemon. It's an appetizer of frustration, and you take the bait, you feel like you've got it in the bag. You think to yourself, this is a cakewalk. And that's when she brings out the Milk Tank. I want you to really think about this for a second. The Goldenrod City gym leader is the 3rd gym leader in the game. The trainers leading up to this point have Pokemon with stats averaging around 20 or 30, so you're used to throwing a punch, a physical attack, and just watching the opponent's health bar disappear. You're on cruise control, man. Then Milk Tank rolls out and you hit it with your best shot, and the health bar barely, and I mean barely, moves. You just experienced a complete paradigm shift, a total change in the rules of the game that you were not prepared for. Why? Because Milk Tank, at level 19, has a defense stat of 105 and a speed stat of 100. 105. Do you understand what a monumental jump that is? That's on a completely different scale. It's a literal physical wall. It's faster than most of your team, and it's completely stonewalls your primary strategy of just using a single over-leveled physical attacker. Your starter, which has been your ace this entire time, suddenly hits for pathetic damage. Your usual brute force method of just spamming attacks is useless, and that feeling of helplessness is the core of the trauma. The Miltank fight forces you to think strategically for the first time, and it's a lesson learned through brutal repeated failure. And the moveset. Oh god, the moveset. It's not just the stats. It's the combination of moves that makes it a literal nightmare. It's a perfectly curated moveset of pure hell. First, you got Attract. This is the move that separates this fight from every other difficult gym leader in the series. You just brought out your starter, probably your Quilava, or a big, strong male Pokemon. And what does Miltank do?
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours, damn right, it's better than yours.
And then you get the message that has haunted a generation of players for decades. Your Pokemon is immobilized by love. Miltank was using Freak no Jutsu on your Pokemon. It's Freak Whitney and her Miltank are motherfuckers. And you just stand there in a moment of pure disbelief as your Pokemon just stares lovingly at this pink cow. You know what the chance of your starter being male is? A staggering 87.5% chance. Yes, even for Chikorita, this is a near guaranteed disaster for most players. It's a 50% chance to do nothing on your turn, a coin flip of pain, a pure luck issue. It's infuriating. It's not a skill issue, it's a luck issue, and it feels like the game is mocking you. Then you have Stomp. It's bad enough that Miltank is faster and moves first due to its 100 speed stat, but its main physical attack, Stomp, has a 30% chance to flinch. So even if your Pokemon isn't immobilized by love, you could still be immobilized by pain. It's just one more layer of bullshit on top of an already ridiculous pile. And then you have the big one. The one move that everyone remembers and that everyone has a story about. I'm talking about Rollout. Rollout is a rock-type attack, which is already a cruel joke against the fire-type starter Cyndaquil. But the real kicker is how it works. On the first hit, it has a pathetic 30 base power. You laugh at it, you think it's a joke, but then it hits a second time for 60. The third hit, 120 base power. And if she gets to the fourth hit, it's a ridiculous 240 base power. This isn't just an attack, it's an ever-growing avalanche of pain, an unstoppable truck barreling down on you one hit at a time. It will one hit knock out your Pokemon, or it will one-shot your dreams. This is the move that literally crushed a generation. And just when you think you've got her on the ropes, you finally manage to whittle down that monstrous health bar. She hits you with the most soul-crushing move of all, Milk Drink. This freak drinks its own milk to regain health. Now that's some freak shit even Diddy would be like, hey yo, you just spent 10 turns, 10 agonizing turns, chipping away at her health, getting flinched, getting immobilized, and she just uses Milk Drink and heals half of her total HP. The frustration is monumental. It's a f*** you from the game designer, a complete negation of your will to live. It's why you can't just chip away at her. You have to beat her fast and you have to beat her hard. So what makes Whitney different? Why does she stand out so much compared to other notoriously difficult gym leaders like Sabrina or Claire? It's a perfect storm of factors, a unique confluence of circumstances that was specifically designed to hit you where you were most vulnerable. The biggest issue is the lack of tools. At this point in the game offers a severe, and I mean severe, lack of fighting-type Pokemon. Fighting is the only type that's super effective against normal, and without a type advantage, you are stuck trying to brute force your way through that 105 defense stat. Your wild Pokemon are weak and underleveled, and there aren't many places to grind. You're fundamentally unprepared for a battle that requires strategy, not just brute force. Compare this to other hard leaders, Tate and Liza or Fantina and Platinum. Yeah, they're hard, but by the time you get to them, you have access to a much wider variety of Pokemon and moves. You have more tools to solve the problem. You can get a Dark-type Pokemon for Fantina or a Water-type for Tate and Liza, and you have a huge selection to choose from. But Whitney, she's the third gym leader. You're not just underleveled. You're fundamentally unprepared for a battle that requires more than what you've been doing up to this point. She's a major roadblock, a major momentum killer that teaches a tough lesson through brutal, repeated failure. She's the first time the game really makes you feel like an idiot for not planning ahead. But out of this chaos, a few legends were born. A few heroes found a way to fight back. The first, and probably the most common solution, was the Machop trade. The game designers were smart, and they knew this was a hard battle, so they put a counter right in the game itself. On the top floor of the Goldenrod department store, a man offers to trade his Machop for a Drowsy, and this Machop named a Muscle is the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a fighting type, so its Karate Chop and Low Kick are super effective against Miltank. It gets an experience boost from being a traded Pokemon, so it levels up faster. And most importantly, it is guaranteed to be female, making it completely immune to Attract. This Machop was the ultimate big brain move for a kid who found it or read about it in a Nintendo Power magazine. It was the moment the game says, you don't need to grind, you just need to think. Then you have the desperation strategies, the beautiful, weird, and wonderful solutions born from repeated failure. The first one is the Ghastly Curse. Ghastly, a ghost-type Pokemon, is immune to Miltank's Stomp because it's a physical, normal-type move. The beautiful realization that they could use Curse to put Miltank on a turn-by-turn timer. Example of a player finding a clever workaround to a game's intended difficulty. It's the ultimate outsmarting the game move. And it was so powerful, it even influenced game design. The developers were so aware of this loophole that in the remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Miltank was given the hidden ability Scrappy, which allows her normal-type moves like Stomp to hit ghost types. It's a fascinating cat-and-mouse game that shows Miltank's legacy is so huge, it literally changed the rules of the game. It's no longer just a boss. Another classic was the Wall strategy. The game gives you access to Geodude and Onix, two rock/ground types with incredibly high defense. They are excellent for tanking Rollout, which is a rock-type move, and if you were lucky enough to get a female one, it was a bonus against Attract. This was the brute force a different way strategy, where you just outlasted her and slowly chipped away at her health with status effects like poison or paralysis. You could get a Mareep with Thunder Wave or a Chikorita with Stun Spore to inflict paralysis, which not only lowers Miltank's speed, but also gives you a 25% chance to make it unable to move. Or you could get a Pokemon that could poison it, slowly draining that tanky health bar with damage over time. So when it comes down to it, the Miltank battle wasn't just a hard fight, it was a rite of passage. It was the first time many of us truly experienced the harsh reality of the Pokemon world. It taught us about strategy, about grinding, about finding hidden solutions, and about the sheer soul-crushing agony of a 100% accurate rollout. Other difficult gym leaders came after her, but none of them had the same perfect storm of factors as Whitney. Her difficulty is unique, historical, a true legend. She is, without a doubt, the greatest of all time when it comes to gym leader trauma. So, I gotta know, what's your story? Did you cheese her with a female Machop? Did you go full Ghastly with Curse? Or did you just keep throwing your poor Quilava at her until you finally got lucky? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, please consider subscribing so that we can hit 5,000 subscribers. The character of Red occupies a unique and revered position within the Pokemon franchise. In jail. This guy literally traumatized the life out of my 7-year-old self. This nonchalant ass bitch got my 7-year-old self huffing and puffing through the Nintendo. I wasn't battling this freak, I was surviving from him. And today, I'll be talking about how Red traumatized an entire generation. I'm talking about his name bringing chills to your spine, as if having one traumatic experience wasn't enough from one generation. Gen 2. Johto had to give us double the trauma. Maybe this is why we like Generation 2 so much, and why it's the most memorable Pokemon game for most of us, in the original Pokemon Red and Blue. In his debut generation, the protagonist of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow is a blank canvas. A nobody. His story is, by design, the player's own journey. The narrative is straightforward. A 10-year-old from Pallet Town embarks on a quest to become the Pokemon League champion. This quest involves defeating 8 gym leaders. You know the usual drill. But no, this is the main character we are talking about. Shit is bound to hit the fan. Game Freak really said if you want hoes like Blue's ass, then you gotta go through the toughest challenges like wrestling with Mewtwo. He was thwarting the criminal organization in Team Rocket, and ultimately overcoming his Nepo rival Blue Oak to claim the title of champion. The genius of Red's character lies in his intentional lack of a defined backstory or a voice. By remaining a nonchalant boss, the game avoids imposing a specific personality, allowing the player to fully project themselves onto the character. The strength of Red is the direct result of you the player's dedication from the previous game you just played. So in theory, Red's just you in another body, from catching all 151 Pokemon to conquering every challenge in the Kanto region. This boy really earned that title of the nonchalant final boss. While Red is an empty vessel in terms of dialogue, his persona is forged through his actions, and his ultimate form, unspoken Riz. His determination to defeat rival Blue is a core part of his character, as his courage in dismantling the powerful Team Rocket. The composition of his team, which would become iconic in later games. His canonical team is composed of the 3 Kanto starters Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise.
Big man blast us. Big man blast us. Big man blast us.
Why does he have all 4 starters? Ain't he ever heard of the word variety? But Red's unspoken riz lets him get away with it. The inclusion of Pokemon like Snorlax and Lapras, which are obtained through in-game events during his journey building up his riz as the master trainer, who goes on to scare the life out of us. Oh, good God. Let's talk about these 6 feet nonchalant freaks. Aura at Mount Silver. The myth of Mount Silver. The most significant chapter in Red's legacy begins in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and their remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. In these games, Red is no longer the player's avatar. He has become the final boss. No one else like Brendan or any of the previous protagonists are ever featured in another Pokemon game ever. This just shows what kind of aura Red actually possesses. He is found at the peak of Mount Silver looking into the distance on the snow mountain with no coat, no jacket. This post-game location, that is the literal and metaphorical grand finale of the game's challenges. You thought that defeating Lance was the final challenge? Defeating Blue in the Kanto region was your final battle? No, hell no! Fighting your shadow, Red, was your final challenge. The encounter is a climactic, silent battle between the player and their own past self. This confrontation represents the ultimate rite of passage for the new protagonist, and serves as a powerful meta-narrative about legacy and progression. Red's so nonchalant that he became the champion of the Kanto region, but decided that, nah, that place ain't worth my time, and went to the very top of Mount Silver to Aura Farm, with no coat. This guy's aura is off the charts. The battle against Red is absolutely disgusting. It's extremely difficult. The Game Freak wanted you to lose. His Pokemon are at a significantly higher levels than anything else in the game. I am talking about forcing you to engage in extensive training and strategic preparation. And for all the players who had no idea what kind of monster they were facing, oh Lord have mercy. The last few battles before facing Red was against Silver and his Pokemon who were at around level 60 and above. So that's where you are expected to be at. This is a narrative tool that shows his position as this mythical figure. The sheer effort required to face him made your ultimate victory a moment of accomplishment. And by that, I mean if you could win. There was no way in hell that your ass didn't save right before the mighty Red. I am looking at you, little Jimmy, little Colin. Your ass didn't beat Red in his first try. And rest in peace to every Nuzlocker that had to fight this demon. This demon and his gang of little demons. Red's team, we got monsters like Pikachu at level 88 with Volt Tackle, Thunderbolt, Iron Tail, Quick Attack, holding a Light Ball which boosts this already busted level. 88 Pikachu's attack and special attack. Red Pikachu hit like a truck, and that Light Ball made it hit like 2 trucks. Never mind a truck. That thing was a jet plane with its monstrous speed. Then we got the fat ass, Snorlax, at level 82 with Giga Impact, Crunch, Shadow Ball, and Blizzard. Blizzard? Who teaches their Snorlax Blizzard? Red is a freak! This thing was the toughest thing by far. This fat ass would not lose health no matter how much I attacked it. Then we have Lapras at level 80 with Brine, Blizzard, Psychic, Body Slam. This thing was the only sane thing on Red's team, and I am not even exaggerating. Then we got Venusaur, level 84. It knew Sleep Powder, Giga Drain, Frenzy Plant, and Sludge Bomb. The most annoying threat, with extremely powerful special attack and status moves like Sleep Powder and Sludge Bomb, which kept on poisoning my Pokemon's left, right, and center. Then we got Charizard at level 84, with Flare Blitz, Blast Burn, Dragon Pulse, and Air Slash. This thing was actually okay to deal with, I can't even lie. Charizard wasn't even that bad. Then we got Big Man Blastoise at level 84, with Blizzard, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, and Hydro Cannon. This guy was a menace, a Pokemon with strong defensive stats and a diverse set of special attacks, including Blizzard, which has a perfect accuracy during the hail. Red is known as the toughest battle in all of Pokemon with his highest level Pikachu at level 88. This man was a demon. He was so unexpectedly strong. He got us huffing and puffing through the screen, like his man broke the kid inside of me. And today I am making this video, sharing the trauma that he inflicted on us all. And you know what? This demon Red had to rub salt on the wound. This man never spoke a single word ever. Like Cynthia at least gave you the option to say no in Undella Town. But this man Red went straight to scrapping. No words spoken. This guy is a menace. Red's defining characteristic in this era is his silence. He speaks no words before, during, or after the battle. This man was busy, aura farming and traumatizing kids. This man simply offered ... as if this was his first time tasting defeat. But there's a theory on what really traumatized my boy Red and made him so cold and nonchalant. One theory suggests a dark psychological origin, positing that Red was traumatized by the pressures of his championship. And of course, taking down Team Rocket did a number in his head. In Pokémon Masters X, Misty implies that Red was so obsessed with battling that he isolated himself. From this perspective, his silence is not a result of trauma, but a sign of his immense focus and an unwavering bond with his Pokémon. As he famously states in later appearances, words are unnecessary. The battle with Red is not just a challenging boss fight, it is the ultimate test for us. And how much more scarred can we get from this 2D game? The game's credits roll after the player becomes the Johto champion, making the entire Kanto region and the battle against Red a post-game challenge that is entirely optional. So you could technically avoid going to Kanto and avoid fighting Red entirely, but avoiding an entire region because of one man. Now that's aura. Lock that man up for traumatizing all the little kids in his past. He is not getting away with this one. Fast forward a couple of years. Red's appearance in Pokémon Sun and Moon and their enhanced versions, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, represents a maturation of his character and the franchise itself. The people's fears were reawakened, but he is no longer the nonchalant aura farming figure he once was, but an older, respected veteran who operates the battle tree alongside his former rival Blue. This is a significant shift in his role, as he has transitioned from a recluse into an active figure who tests and guides new generations of trainers. His updated design, with a more mature, realistic body model and a new outfit, reflects the passage of time and the franchise's acknowledgement of its aging player base. The inclusion of a 96 logo on his shirt is a direct and powerful homage to the original game's Japanese release year, a clear message to veteran fans that their long-standing dedication is recognized and celebrated. In the battle tree, the core of Red's team remains the same 6 Pokémon, but their competitive viability is updated to match the mechanics of the new generation. The battle tree provides a repeatable and structured environment to challenge him, which is a departure from the one-time post-game event on Mount Silver. Red's aging in Sun and Moon serves a dual purpose. On a narrative level, it solidifies his history and ongoing journey across regions. On a metatextual level, it is a deliberate decision by the developers to acknowledge the passage of time for both the characters and the players who have grown up with them. While other iconic characters like Wally and Cynthia are depicted with their original models and looks, Red and Blue are shown to have aged. This disparity highlights a deliberate choice to show that Red's story is one of progression and legacy. His reintroduction in a more active role at the battle tree signifies that his legend is not relegated to a bygone era, but is a permanent, living part of the franchise's competitive landscape. The journey of Red, from a nameless Aurelus goon to becoming one of the legendary figures of all of Pokémon and unlocking unspoken Riz. The psychological weight of the Mount Silver battle in particular is an emotionally charged moment for a generation of players. It is more than just a boss fight, it's a confrontation with the player's own past, a symbolic passing of the torch where they must prove they are worthy of standing against their former self. The isolated, snowy setting and the powerful musical score contribute to a feeling of epic finality that makes this encounter one of the most memorable moments in video game history. Red's silence, once a simple game mechanic, has become his most iconic character trait and a source of deep thematic richness. In a world of verbose, over-the-top characters, his lack of dialogue is a powerful statement. It signifies his complete and utter focus on the art of battle and the depth of the bond he shares with his Pokémon, a bond so strong that verbal commands are no longer necessary. The multitude of fan theories, from mental trauma to telepathic abilities, simply add layers to the silence, giving it a depth that a talking character might lack. This evolution of a simple design choice into a potent symbol speaks to the power of player imagination and community lore. Red's journey has also served as a canonical blueprint for what a truly strong trainer looks like within the Pokémon universe. His team composition, composed of starters and other unique one-of-a-kind Pokémon, sets a standard for all future protagonists and rivals. The high levels to which he trains his team set a benchmark for post-game challenges, ensuring that he remains the yardstick against which all other trainers are measured. His continued presence across multiple generations, from the Pokémon World Tournament in Black 2 and White 2 to the Battle Tree in Sun and Moon, signifies his permanent place in the series' lore. He is not just a character from the past, he is an ever-present figure who embodies the pinnacle of trainer skill. Red's evolution from a player's avatar to a silent, mythic figure is a unique and brilliant narrative achievement. His power is not a function of some magical ability, but player agency and the passage of time. Red stands not just as the strongest trainer, but As a monument to the first generation of Pokemon players, a timeless and silent legend whose story is, and always will be, inextricably linked to our own. Please subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments what you think. How Cynthia and Garchomp traumatized a whole generation of players. Today we're talking about a name that still sends shivers down the spines of millions. Cynthia. Specifically how Cynthia and her Garchomp didn't just beat us in battle, they traumatized an entire generation of players. The collective memory of that final battle in the Sinnoh region, whether it was in the original Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, or the more recent Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes, is etched into the very soul. It wasn't just a tough fight. It was an emotional roller coaster, a trial by fire that left us questioning everything we thought we knew about being the Pokemon champion. I still remember my first time. My team, meticulously trained, felt ready. I had my starter Infernape, my trusty Ice-type Mamoswine, my flying ace Staraptor. I was confident, cocky even. Then the music hit. That music. You know the one. The one that starts with a calm, almost serene melody, and slowly builds into a heart-pounding epic boss music which screams, "You are not ready for this." And then, Spirit Tomb, followed by a cascade of absolute nightmares. My meticulously planned strategies crumbled. My Pokemon fainted one by one, and by the time Garchomp came out, I wasn't battling. I was just trying to survive. My poor Infernape stood no chance against the monstrous Garchomp's Earthquake. It was a brutal, humbling experience that taught me Pokemon battles were far more complex than just hitting super effective. We're diving deep into why Cynthia was such a menace, breaking down her entire team, uncovering surprising facts about Garchomp you probably never knew, reliving our shared struggles, and finally, figuring out how we all eventually conquered this immovable challenge. Before we unleash this beast, if you've ever felt the cold dread of Cynthia's Garchomp, smash that like button right now. It helps YouTube know you want more deep dives into Pokemon's greatest challenges. Cynthia's unfair advantage. Cynthia wasn't just any champion, she was a master strategist, a bit of a bully. Her team composition and battle tactics were designed to push players to their absolute limits, exploiting every weakness and punishing every mistake. Her unique, diverse team. Forget everything you knew about Elite Four members having a type. Most champions before her, and many after, specialized in a certain Pokemon type, water or even dragon from Wallace and Lance. Cynthia's team was a meticulously crafted, a type-diverse nightmare, covering a staggering 9 different types across just 6 Pokemon. This wasn't just a battle, it was a pop quiz on the entire type chart, forcing you to think on your feet and adapt constantly. This broad type coverage meant that you couldn't just bring a few Pokemon that were strong against one type and expect to sweep. You needed a truly balanced team, capable of handling a wide array of threats. This design choice by Game Freak was a significant departure from previous champions, making her feel uniquely challenging and requiring a much deeper understanding of type matchups and team synergy. It forced players to move beyond simple type countering and consider their entire team's composition. The Elite Four are a resource drain. Before you even dreamed of facing Cynthia, you had to survive the Elite Four. 4 intense battles back-to-back with no Pokemon Center in sight. You'd battle Aaron, Bertha, Flint, and Lucian, each with their own powerful teams, draining your Pokemon's health, depleting your precious PP, and emptying your bag of healing items. By the time you reached Cynthia's chamber, your Pokemon were battered, your strongest moves had 0 PP, and your bag was probably looking drier than the rivers in Africa. It meant that even if you had a perfectly capable team, you were starting the ultimate battle at a significant disadvantage. The cumulative damage and resource drain from the Elite Four made Cynthia's already formidable team feel even more invincible, contributing to the feeling of being utterly outmatched before the fight even truly began. Her full restore spam, and then the ultimate betrayal. Just when you thought you had her Spiritomb on the ropes, bam, full restore. Melodic looking weak, bam, another full restore. Cynthia wasn't just battling, she was playing mind games. And you know what? The craziest part? These freaks enjoyed it. They enjoyed being tortured by Cynthia. Look at these comments. 219 likes? You freak. She'd spam those full restores, healing her Pokemon to full health and curing every single status condition. It was like fighting a Hydra. Cut one head off, 2 more grew back. You'd spend turns chipping away at a Pokemon's health, only for her to instantly undo all your hard work. This constant healing was a psychological weapon. It prolonged battles, made every turn feel like a struggle against an endless monster, and created immense frustration. It wasn't just about her Pokemon's raw power, it was about the sheer futility of your efforts when she could simply erase your progress with a single item. This tactic alone was enough to make many players throw their DS across the room, and let's break down the rest of the gang, because Garchomp wasn't the only problem. Every single Pokemon on Cynthia's team was a threat, designed to wear you down and set the stage for the grand finale. First up, Spiritomb. This Ghost/Dark type was a nightmare because Generation 4 it had no weaknesses. You couldn't hit it super effectively with anything. It just sat there lowering your special defense with Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball, setting the stage for pain. It was the ultimate wall, forcing you to use up precious PP and take damage before you even got to the real threats. Then there's Milotic, a beautiful but deadly water type. In Diamond and Pearl it had Aqua Ring, slowly healing itself, and Mirror Coat to reflect your powerful special attacks right back at you, often knocking out your strongest special attacker in one hit. In Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, she even gives it a Flame Orb to activate its Marvel Scale ability, which boosts its already impressive defense by a staggering 50% when burned. It could tank hits and dish out Scald, which could burn your physical attackers. Lucario, the fighting and steel powerhouse, came next. Its Aura Sphere and Shockwave, they never miss. Ever. So don't even think about trying to boost your evasion against this guy. He'll just bypass it and hit you with super effective damage against rock, ice, steel, and normal types. It was fast, hit hard, and had coverage for many common types. Next up, Roserade, fast, and packing a punch with Sludge Bomb, a powerful poison-type move that gets a stab and can poison you. It also had Energy Ball for water, rock, and ground types. And finally, Gastrodon, a water-ground type that's only 4 times weak to grass, but otherwise a bulky annoyance with Earthquake and Scald, hitting hard, and taking hits surprisingly well. Each of these Pokemon drained your resources and forced specific counter-strategies, building the tension linearly towards the ultimate showdown, the monstrous ace, Garchomp the Tyrant. Everyone wanted a glazing video on Garchomp, so here it is. Alright, let's talk about the main event and the reason we're all here, the Pokemon that still haunts our dreams, Garchomp. This isn't just any dragon/ground type. This is a pseudo-legendary with stats that put most actual legendaries to shame. We're talking a base stat total of 600. That's insane for a non-legendary, placing it among the most powerful Pokemon in the game. Let's break down those numbers because they tell the real story of why this land shark was so terrifying. We're talking 108 horsepower, a monstrous 130 attack, a solid 95 defense, and a blazing 102 speed. This thing hits like a truck, moves like a jet plane, and can take a hit too, and it's built for pure destruction. Its high attack and speed means it can often outspeed your Pokemon and deliver devastating blows before you even get a chance to react. The high HP and decent defenses allow it to survive hits that would knock out lesser Pokemon. This combination of offensive and defensive power is why it felt like an unstoppable force. In Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, Garchomp was already a nightmare with Stab Earthquake, a devastating ground-type move that hits everything on the ground, and Dragon Rush, a powerful dragon-type move that could even make you flinch. Plus, it knew Giga Impact, an extremely powerful and normal-type move that was the physical variant of Hyper Beam. While it needed a turn to recharge, often that one hit was all it needed to wipe out one of your Pokemon. But then came Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and Game Freak said, you know what? Let's make it worse. In BDSP, Cynthia's Garchomp got a new trick, Swords Dance. This move raises Garchomp's attack stat by 2 stages in a single turn. Imagine a Pokemon that already hits like a train, now hitting like 2 f***ing trains after just one turn. After one Swords Dance, it could one-shot almost anything you threw at it, regardless of type effectiveness. The trauma was reawakened, amplified for a new generation of players. And for those of us replaying, it was a cruel reminder of the past, now made even more challenging. This single edition elevated an already infamous opponent to legendary status, making the remakes potentially even harder in this specific encounter. Now you might be thinking, Garchomp is 4 times weak to ice, I'll just bring an ice type and one-shot it. And you'd be right, mostly. But Cynthia, being the strategic genius she is, gave her Garchomp a little secret weapon in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the Yatra Berry. This berry halves the damage with a super effective ice-type attack once, so your perfectly planned Ice Beam or Ice Shard might not be the instant KO you hoped for, leaving Garchomp alive to retaliate with a boosted Earthquake or Dragon Claw. This meant that your most obvious counter strategy, the one you probably spent hours training for, was partially negated. You expected a clean one-hit knockout, but instead, Garchomp survived with enough health to unleash a devastating counterattack, often wiping out your Ice-type Pokémon. This unexpected resilience added another layer of frustration and contributed to the feeling that Cynthia was always one step ahead. We haven't even started talking about Garchomp's ability. In Generation 4, Garchomp's only ability was Sand Veil, which boosts its evasion by 25% in a sandstorm. Sounds terrifying, right? Evasion boosts on a monster like Garchomp? Imagine trying to hit a Pokémon that's already fast and strong, and now it's dodging your attacks left and right. But here's the kicker. Cynthia's team never had a Pokémon that could set up a sandstorm. Not in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, or even Gen 5. So all those times you swore Garchomp dodged your attacks because of Sand Veil, it was all in your head. The trauma was so real we imagined it was even more unfair than it actually was. So essentially Garchomp without any ability was plowing our teams. This common misconception among players truly highlights the psychological impact of the battle. We were so overwhelmed by Garchomp's raw power and speed that our brains filled in the blanks, perceiving it as an even greater threat than its mechanics actually allowed. It's a testament to how deeply this battle affected us. If these Garchomp nightmares are hitting too close to home, let me know your most traumatic Cynthia story in the comments below. Did you manage to one-shot Garchomp, or did it take you a dozen tries and a small army of full restores? Let me know your pain in the comments so that we can all feel at home. Facing Cynthia and Garchomp felt impossible, but eventually we all found ways to overcome the challenge. And it wasn't easy. The first most painful truth, and you probably went in underleveled. Cynthia's Garchomp sits at a whopping level 66 in the first battle, while the Elite Four's starting Pokemon are often in the late 40s. That's a huge jump. Many of us, myself included, had to go back to the drawing board, hit the Grand Underground, and grind for hours to get our teams into the high 50s or low 60s. It wasn't fun, but it was absolutely necessary. The level disparity between the Elite Four and Cynthia was a deliberate design choice that forced players to invest significant time and effort into leveling up their teams. This wasn't just about raw power, it was about ensuring your Pokemon could withstand Garchomp's attacks and deal enough damage to overcome its defenses, and the Yachi Berry. This fundamental shift in strategy, from simply progressing through the story to dedicated grinding, highlighted the sheer magnitude of the challenge. Remember how Cynthia spammed full restores? Well, you too can play that game. You might have felt like a bitch using them, but guess what? Cynthia herself uses items on all of her Pokemon. Her Melodic even has a Flame Orb to boost its defense. So stock up on those full restores, max revives, and even some leftovers or berries from the Grand Underground. This isn't a fair fight, and you need every advantage. Learning to strategically use healing items and held items became a crucial part of the problem solution arc. Players realized that to beat a champion who played by her own rules, they had to adapt and use every tool at their disposal. This changed the perception of item usage from a cheat to a necessary strategy, a valuable lesson learned through the repeated defeats and the eventual win. But beyond grinding in items, true victory came from smart-type matchups and strategic Pokemon choices. Understanding weaknesses and resistances was key to dismantling Cynthia's diverse team. Garchomp's 4X weakness to ice was its kryptonite. Pokemon like Mamoswine with its priority Ice Shard could often one-shot Garchomp, even if underleveled, because Ice Shard attacks first. Weevil, faster than Garchomp, could land a devastating Ice Punch or Avalanche. These Ice-type heroes were often the key to taking down the terrifying dragon. Fairy types, the Dragon Slayers, BDSP only. In Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the introduction of the Fairy type was a game changer. Fairy moves are super effective against Garchomp, and even better, Dragon type moves have no effect on Fairy types. Togekiss with its Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast became an absolute unit, resisting Garchomp's attacks while dishing out massive damage. They also helped with Spiritomb, as Fairy is its only weakness. Other MVPs, Swampert with Ice Punch could tank hits and retaliate, and Gyarados' Intimidate ability could lower Garchomp's attack, giving you a crucial turn. Even a well-timed switch into a Ghost type like Drifblim could bait Garchomp's Earthquake, which wouldn't hit Ghost types, allowing for a strategic counterattack or a free switch. These specific strategies, often shared and refined by the community, provided concrete pathways to victory. Cynthia's Pokemon, Spiritomb being Ghost/Dark, Togekiss being Fairy Flying, Roserade Grass/Poison, Gastrodon Water/Ground, Lucario Fighting/Steel, Milotic Water type, Garchomp Dragon/Ground, the You Can Say No to Cynthia, Secret Gen 5 Edition. And for those of you who just couldn't take it anymore, who needed a moment to breathe, Did you know, in the Undella townhouse in Generation 5, when Cynthia asks if you want to battle, you can actually say no? That's right! You don't have to face the trauma once again. You can literally just walk away. Though let's be honest, who even said no? The challenge was too alluring, even if it meant certain doom. This obscure fact highlights the player's intrinsic drive to overcome challenges, even when given an easy out. It adds a meta layer to the trauma, by showing that despite the pain, we chose to endure it, driven by the desire to prove ourselves. So Cynthia and Garchomp battle wasn't just a roadblock, it was a masterclass. It taught us about team building, type matchups, item management, and the sheer grit required to be a champion. It forced us to evolve as trainers, much like our Pokémon had to evolve to stand a chance. Cynthia didn't just traumatize us, she forged us into stronger, smarter players, capable of tackling any challenge the Pokémon world threw our way. The problem of her overwhelming power led to the solution of strategic mastery, making us better trainers in the process. Alright, we need to talk about something that's been eating at me for months now. Something that legitimately keeps me up at night. Something that made grown adults cry actual tears of frustration and joy at the same time.
What? What the fuck? What? Bro, he did not just do that!
I'm talking about how Game Freak looked at us, looked at our childhood trauma from Cynthia and said, you know what, let's do it again but make it 10 times worse. I'm talking about Volo, the blonde merchant who seemed so friendly, so helpful, so trustworthy, and then proceeded to emotionally and psychologically destroy an entire generation of Pokemon players who thought they knew what difficulty meant. And before you click away thinking this is just another glazing video about a hard boss fight, no. This is about how one character managed to take everything we thought we knew about Pokemon battles, about storytelling in Pokemon games, about trust itself, and then completely shatter it into a million pieces. This man didn't just beat us in a Pokemon battle, he broke us. He made us question our entire existence as trainers when we lost to his 8 Pokemon team. He made us relive the Cynthia nightmare, but cranked that up to 11 with a side of betrayal. Let me paint you the picture, because it has been like 3 years since Legends came out. It's early 2022. Pokémon Legends Arceus just dropped. Everyone's having a great time catching Pokemon in this new open-world style gameplay. We're rolling around Hisui, which is just ancient Sinnoh, because this is something refreshing, because we can dodge roll and throw Pokeballs like we're playing Dark Souls or something. And yeah, it is definitely Game Freak's best game ever created. The game's different and fresh. And then there's this merchant guy, Volo, who keeps showing up to help us out. Sells us items, gives us tips, seems genuinely interested in our progress. Here's where Game Freak played it as like a fiddle. They knew that we all had PTSD from Cynthia. That piano music still haunts our dreams. Those of us who played Diamond and Pearl back in the early 2000s, we remember walking into that champion room completely unprepared for the absolute beatdown that was about to happen. Volo is Cynthia's ancestor. And I don't mean that in like some cute Easter egg way where they just look similar. This man has her entire team. But wait, there's more. Not only does he have Cynthia's team, not only does he ambush you at the top of Mount Coronet when you think you're about to meet Arceus and complete the game, not only does he reveal he's been manipulating you the entire time, and he's actually completely insane, and wants to destroy the world to meet Arceus, this absolute madman has 7 Pokemon. 7? F that. He had 8 Pokemons. Let me repeat that for those people in the back. 8 motherfucking Pokemon. Entire history of Pokemon games, no trainer has ever had more than 6 Pokemon in a single battle. It's literally the rule, 6 Pokemon max. That's been the law since 1996 when Red and Blue came out. But Volo? Volo said screw your rules, screw your expectations, screw your mental health. Now I'm bringing 7 Pokemon to this fight and you're gonna deal with it. But actually it's worse than 7. Because his 7th Pokemon isn't just any Pokemon. It's the f***ing devil. The Satan of the Pokemon world. The banished god. The ruler of the distortion world. It's not the regular Giratina. After you beat it once, thinking you finally won this absolute marathon of a battle, it transforms into its origin form and full heals. So technically, you're fighting 8 Pokemon. You're 6 Pokemon against his 8. This is after you've already climbed all the way up Mount Coronet, probably used some items, and then maybe your team isn't at full health. There's no Pokemon Center at the top of the mountain. There's no warning. There's just pain. Let me break down his team for you so you could understand the level of psychological warfare this man was conducting. He starts with Spiritomb. It's bulky. It's annoying. It sets the tone that this isn't going to be easy. I had literally war flashbacks from Cynthia. Then comes Roserade with Poison Jab and Petal Dance, hitting like like a truck with those attack stats. Hisuian Arcanine rolls up with Raging Fury, a new move that's basically just Outrage but Fire type, dealing massive damage while locking itself in. Lucario with Aura Sphere and Bullet Punch, getting that Steel type coverage. Garchomp, because of course Garchomp, with Dragon Claw and Earth Power, the same monster that traumatized us 15 years ago. Then Togekiss. This damn Togekiss. Air Slash with Serene Grace ability means 60% flinch chance. 60%. You literally might never get to move. Your Pokemon just stands there getting flinched to death while you scream at your Switch. It's not even about strategy at that point. It's about whether the RNG gods have decided you're worthy of attacking today. But the real kicker, the thing that makes this fight truly special in the most traumatic way possible, is that you have to beat all 6 of these Pokemon and then beat Giratina in its altered form. And then when you think you've won, when you think you can finally breathe, when you think the nightmare is over, that health bar fills back up. Giratina changes into its origin form with its signature move, Shadow Force, and you have to beat it again. No healing between phases, no checkpoint. If you lose to Origin Form Giratina after beating 7.5 Pokemon, you start the entire battle over, from Spiritomb, from the beginning. The first time I fought Volo, I went in blind. I had no idea what was coming. I'm strolling up Mount Coronet thinking I'm about to have a nice conversation with the god of Pokemon. Maybe catch the god of all the Pokemon, credits roll, good times. I see Volo there and I'm like, oh cool, my merchant buddy made it to the top 2. Maybe he wants to see Arceus as well. We've been through so much together, solving mysteries, helping people. He's been so supportive. Then this man starts talking. And the more he talks, the more you realize something's very, very wrong. He starts going on about how the world isn't perfect, how it needs to be destroyed and remade, how he's been using you this entire time to collect the plate so he can meet the god of Pokemon. The friendly merchant mask completely drops and you see him for what he really is. A nihilistic lunatic who's been playing 4D dimensional chess with your naive protagonist's soul this entire time. The betrayal hits different because unlike other Pokemon villains who are obviously evil from the start, Giovanni looks like a mob boss. Cyrus has the emotional range of a brick. Getsus literally kicks Pokemon. Volo was our friend. He helped us. He gave us items. He showed up when we needed him. He seemed genuinely excited about our adventures. Every single interaction was carefully calculated manipulation, and we fell for it. Then the battle starts. And immediately you know something's wrong because the music...
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Oh god, the music. It starts with Volo's theme. This intense orchestral piece that already has you sweating. But then, when you get to Pokemon number 5 or 6, it happens. The piano starts. That piano. Cynthia's piano. The same melody that haunted our childhood starts playing, but remixed into this epic orchestral arrangement that basically screams you're about to get destroyed and there's nothing you can do about it.
Do. Goodbye, Giratina. Ha!
Huh?
Ha! He's going to another form. No! I'm wrong. Dying. No, my God, I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm dying.
My team when I first fought him was not ready. I had my starter Hisuian Typhlosion, who I thought was pretty strong, and I had a Luxray because electric types are cool. I had a Garchomp of my own because I thought I was being clever. I had a Hisuian Zoroark, a Hisuian Braviary, and a Togekiss of my own. This team got absolutely demolished. Not just beaten, demolished. Humiliated, embarrassed. Sent back to the 1800s where they belong. Spiritomb took out 2 of my Pokemon by itself because I couldn't hit it for super effective damage. And I just kept using Dark Pulse and Will-O-Wisp. By the time I got to Garchomp, I had maybe 3 Pokemon left at half health. His Garchomp outsped mine and one-shot it with Dragon Claw. The disrespect. Using my own ace against me and doing it better. Then Togekiss happened and I literally didn't get to attack for 4 turns straight. Just flinch after flinch after flinch while my Pokemon slowly died, and I contemplated throwing my Switch out the window. But I'm stubborn. I'm a Pokemon veteran. I've been playing these games since Red and Blue. I wasn't gonna let some merchant with good hair and bad intentions beat me, so I grinded. I trained. I built a whole new team specifically to counter Volo, and even then, it took me 7 tries. 7. And I know people who took way more than that. The thing about Volo's fight is that it's not just hard, it's smart. His Pokemon have coverage moves for their weaknesses. His Roserade has Poison Jab for Fairy types. His Lucario has Crunch for Psychic types. His Garchomp has Iron Head for Ice types. You can't just sweep with one overpowered Pokemon like you usually can in these games. You need an actual strategy, proper type coverage, good switching predictions. And even then, you need luck with the Togekiss, flinches, and critical hits. And the stats on these Pokemon are insane. We're talking competitive level stats here. His Garchomp has maximum attack and speed. His Togekiss boosted special attack. His Lucario is running a mixed set with both physical and special moves. This isn't some random trainer with random Pokemon. This is basically fighting a competitive Pokemon player if competitive Pokemon players could bring 7 Pokemon and also had the literal devil as their ace. The community reaction to Volo is absolutely incredible. Reddit exploded, Twitter lost its mind, Discord servers turned into support groups for Volo survivors. People were sharing strategies, team compositions, item setups, anything to help others beat this monster. There were memes everywhere. That picture of Volo smiling innocently next to images of players crying became the template of the year. The developers knew exactly what they were doing. In interviews after the game came out, they basically admitted they wanted to create a battle that would challenge even veteran players. They wanted something memorable, something that would stick with players long after they finished the game. Well, congratulations, Game Freak, you succeeded. I still wake up in cold sweats hearing that piano music transition. What makes Volo even more memorable is his character design and presence throughout the game. This man looks like he stepped out of a fashion magazine. The blonde hair, the outfit that's somehow both merchant appropriate and battle ready. That smirk that in hindsight was definitely evil, but we all thought was just friendly. His backstory is actually tragic when you think about it. This man has been alive for who knows how long, studying history and mythology, trying to understand why the world is the way it is. He's seen the worst of humanity, the conflicts, the pain, the suffering. And his solution? Burn it all down and start over. He's basically Pokemon's version of Thanos, but with better hair and a merchant license. The guy literally manipulated space and time, caused rifts in reality, endangered an entire region, all because he had an existential crisis, and decided the only solution was to meet God and demand a do-over. But here's what really gets me. Volo represents something deeper in Pokemon's storytelling evolution. He's not just a hard boss fight. He's the culmination of 25 years of Pokemon letting us think we know what to expect, then pulling the rug out from under us. Every rule we thought was sacred. 6 Pokemon per battle. Merchants are helpful NPCs. The evil team leader is the final boss. Volo breaks all of them. He's Pokemon's way of saying you're not kids anymore, and we're not going to treat you like kids. The aftermath of the Volo fight is something else too. After you finally beat him, and I mean finally beat him after probably dozens of attempts, he doesn't get arrested or repent or join your side. No, this man just gives you the last plate you need, drops some ominous dialogue about how he'll keep trying to meet Arceus no matter how long it takes, and then just leaves. Peace out. See you never. Or maybe see you in another 1,000 years when he tries to destroy the world again? Who knows? The man is immortal or something, and he's got nothing but time and trauma to distribute. Players started making connections between Volo and Cynthia that went beyond just the ancestor thing. Theory videos popped up everywhere. Is Cynthia so interested in mythology because of inherited memories from Volo? Is her strength in battle a genetic memory from her psychotic ancestor? Does she know about Volo? Some people even started feeling bad for Cynthia. Like, imagine finding out your great whatever grandfather was a nihilistic merchant who tried to destroy the world. The speedrunning community had a field day with this fight. Watching speedrunners try to optimize the Volo battle is like watching someone try to speedrun a hurricane. There's only so much you can control when Togekiss decides today is Flinch Day. The RNG manipulation strategies people came up with were insane. Some runners literally started tracking the game's random number generator frame by frame to predict when they could attack without getting flinched. And can we talk about how this fight made people actually use items in a Pokemon game? Usually we're all hoarding max revives and full restores like they're made of gold, saving them for some hypothetical future battle that never comes. But Volo made us use everything. Max revives, full restores, X items for stat boosts, even those random berries we picked up and forgot about. People were crafting battle strategies around item usage for the first time since Pokemon Stadium on the N64. The psychological impact of the Volo fight extends beyond just the difficulty. It changed how we approach Pokemon games. Now when we meet a friendly NPC who's a little too helpful, a little too interested in our progress, we're suspicious. We've got trust issues. Every merchant, every recurring character, every person who shows up at convenient times, they could be the next Volo. But for those of us who persevered, who suffered through attempt after attempt, who learned every one of his Pokemon's movesets by heart because we've seen them so many times, beating Volos is one of the greatest feelings in gaming. It's proof that you can overcome anything with enough determination and probably an unhealthy amount of stubbornness. That victory screen after Origin form when Giratina finally falls doesn't just say you won, it says you survived. The crazy thing is, Volo made us better Pokemon players. Before Volo, most of us were just using our favorites, not thinking about team composition or type coverage that much. After Volo, we're all suddenly competitive strategists. We're breeding for perfect stats, We're planning movesets like we're about to enter the World Championships. This one battle turned casual players into hardcore trainers because we had no choice. Adapt or die, and dying meant starting that entire 8 Pokemon gauntlet over again. Let's talk about that Giratina for a second, because it deserves its own discussion. This isn't just any legendary Pokemon, this is the Pokemon that was too violent for the normal world. The Pokemon that God himself had to banish to another dimension. And Volo just has it, controls it, commands it to fight you, twice. The lore implications are staggering. This merchant somehow made a deal with or controlled the Pokemon equivalent of Lucifer, and he uses it as his ace. The disrespect, the audacity, the sheer power move energy. Origin form Giratina with Shadow Force is something else entirely. Shadow Force is a 2-turn move where Giratina disappears on the first turn, becomes invulnerable to attacks, and then strikes on the second turn with a base 120 power ghost move that breaks through Protect. You literally cannot hit it on that first turn. It's just gone. And you're sitting there sweating knowing that next turn something on your team is about to get deleted from existence. The psychological warfare of watching that HP bar and planning your next move, knowing it might not matter because Shadow Force ignores so many defensive options. The music during the Giratina phase deserves an award. It's this perfect blend of terrifying and epic. You've got the dramatic orchestra, choir that sounds like they're singing your funeral, and underneath it all, hints of that Cynthia piano motif reminding you that this is your inherited trauma made manifest. The composers knew exactly what emotional buttons to push. They wanted you to feel the weight of this moment, the culmination of everything, the final test of whether you're worthy of meeting Arceus. Can we acknowledge how Volo's entire plan was actually pretty solid? Like, obviously trying to destroy the world is bad, but his methodology was smart. He couldn't challenge Arceus directly, so he manipulated events to create the space-time rifts, which brought you from the future. Knowing you'd be capable enough to gather the plates, but naive enough to trust him, he played a long game that spanned dimensions and timelines. That's not just villain behavior, that's advanced villain behavior. This man was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. The best part about Volo is that he's not even sorry. After you beat him, after you crush his dreams of meeting Arceus and remaking the world, he doesn't apologize. He doesn't see the error of his ways. He basically says, "Good game, I'll try again later," and dips. The man has conviction. Insane, world-ending conviction, but conviction nonetheless. You've got to respect the commitment to the bit, even if the bit is omnicide. Players started coming up with specific counter-strategies that became legendary in the community. The Cresselia tank strat, where you just use Cresselia with Moonblast and Recover to slowly chip away at his team. The Blissey Toxic Stall approach that made battles take 45 minutes but guaranteed victory. The Alpha Pokemon Brute Force method, where you just threw over-leveled Alpha Pokemon at him until something stuck. Every strategy had its own cult following, its own guide videos, its own discussion threads. The memes that came out of Volo were top tier. That image of him standing innocently with text like, "Hell, I'm just a humble merchant," next to a picture of him commanding Giratina. The videos of people's first reactions to the 7 Pokemon reveal are comedy gold. Grown adults just shouting, seven Pokemon at their screens. What really sticks with me is how Volo changed the conversations around Pokemon difficulty. For years, people complained that Pokemon games are too easy, made for kids, no challenge for veteran players. Then Game Freak said, "Bet, here's Volo, enjoy your suffering." And suddenly, everyone remembered that maybe Pokemon games being accessible wasn't such a bad thing. Volo is proof that Game Freak can make challenging content when they want to. They just usually choose not to, maybe because they value our mental health. Usually. Now, every Pokemon game that comes out, players are looking for the Volo. Who's going to be the secret super boss? Who's going to betray us? Which friendly NPC is actually a psychopath waiting to reveal their true nature? Nemona and Scarlet and Violet being aggressively friendly and obsessed with battling had everyone suspicious. People were making theory videos about how she was going to be the next Volo before the games even came out. That's the lasting impact. Permanent trust issues with helpful NPCs. Some players have turned beating Volo into a challenge run thing. Beat Volo with only certain types. Beat Volo with no items. Beat Volo with unevolved Pokemon. Beat Volo blindfolded, apparently. Because some people just don't value their sanity. These challenge runs have become their own subcategory of Pokemon content. Volo has never appeared in any other Pokemon media as criminal. No anime appearance, no manga spotlight, no Pokemon Masters event. This man deserves more recognition for the pure chaos he brought to our lives. Imagine an anime arc where Ash meets Volo, the trauma that would inflict on a whole new generation. Though honestly, Ash would probably beat him with the power of friendship and a severely underleveled Pikachu, because anime logic doesn't care about your game mechanics. Looking back, Volo represents a turning point in Pokemon storytelling. He proved that Pokemon could do complex villains with believable motivations beyond just, "I want to rule the world because of the evil." His philosophy, while extreme, makes sense from his perspective. He's seen centuries of human suffering and concluded the system is broken beyond repair. His solution is wrong, but his diagnosis isn't entirely incorrect. That's what makes him compelling. He's not wrong about the problems, just catastrophically wrong about the solution. The attention to detail in the Volo fight is incredible too. The way his Pokemon's moves perfectly counter common strategies. How Spiritomb being first means you can't just rely on fighting types to sweep. How Garchomp near the end punishes you for using all your resources early. And then Giratina as the finale, when you're exhausted and running on fumes. It's perfectly orchestrated difficulty, designed to push you to your absolute limit, and then beyond. I remember finally beating him after my 7th attempt. My hands were literally shaking. My Hisuian Good Draw was at 12 HP. One more hit from anything would have ended it all, but Shadow Force missed. It actually missed. The 5% chance to miss, and it happened when I needed it most. The scream I let out when that final Shadow Ball connected. My neighbors definitely thought someone was being murdered. And in a way, someone was. The innocent, trusting Pokemon trainer I used to be. The aftermath of beating Volo is almost anticlimactic. You meet Arceus, catch it with surprising ease considering it's literally God, and the game just ends. Credits roll. You're left sitting there, emotionally drained, wondering if what you just experienced was real. Did that really happen? Did a Pokemon merchant really just put you through the digital equivalent of military boot camp? The whiplash from intense battle to a peaceful ending is jarring, but that's also genius game design. After the storm that is Volo, you need that calm, you need that peaceful resolution. Meeting Arceus feels earned because you literally went through hell to get there. You faced down someone who wanted to destroy existence itself, armed with Satan Pokemon and the power of RNG flinch abuse. If that doesn't qualify you to meet God, I don't know what does. The legacy of Volo will last forever in Pokemon history. Years from now, when Pokemon is on its 15th generation, and we're playing on whatever comes after the Switch, veteran players will still remember Volo. We'll tell younger players about the time before Volo, when we were innocent and trusting. We'll share war stories about our attempts, our failed strategies, our eventual victories. And honestly, thank you, Game Freak. Thank you for giving us Volo. Thank you for not holding back. Thank you for saying, you want difficult? Here's your difficulty. Choke on it. Thank you for creating a villain so memorable, so challenging, so perfectly designed that we'll never forget him. Thank you for the trust issues, the PTSD, the nights spent grinding levels just to stand a chance. Thank you for proving that Pokemon can still surprise us, still challenge us, still make us feel something intense after all these years. So if you're watching this and you haven't played Legends Arceus yet, first of all, what are you doing? Go play it. But also, when you meet a friendly merchant named Volo, who seems really helpful and interested in your adventure, prepare yourself. Train your Pokemon, stock up on items, maybe see a therapist preemptively, because that man is about to put you through an experience that will fundamentally change how you see Pokemon games forever. And for those of you who've been through it, who've stood at the summit of Mount Coronet and faced down the nightmare that is Volo and his 8 Pokemon of Doom, you know the pain, the struggle, the sweet victory after countless defeats. We are the Volo survivors. We are the traumatized generation, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Because at the end of the day, that's what gaming is about. Those moments that stick with you, those challenges that they'll seem impossible until suddenly they're not. Those villains that make you genuinely emotional because they played you so perfectly. Volo is all of that and more. He's peak Pokemon villain design. He's difficulty done right. He's the reason we have trust issues with every merchant in every game now. So smash that like button if Volo hurt you emotionally and physically. Subscribe if you're still recovering from the trauma. And comment down below with your Volo horror stories because misery loves company and we all need group therapy after what that man put us through. This has been your regularly scheduled rant about how one fictional merchant with a perfect hair and a god complex managed to traumatize an entire generation of Pokemon players. Again, because apparently we didn't learn our lesson with Cynthia the first time. Peace out, fellow survivors.